Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Zoom at 8 every Tuesday night. We are here. My name is Julianne Peterson. I'm with Old Capital Lending, and I want to welcome you. We have a lot of regulars here tonight, but if you're new, make sure you know what your 30-second elevator speech is going to sound like. We're going to get around to all of you. So Old Capital, we are a premier provider of debt for mainly multifamily. So if you are working on something, which, we've closed 7 deals here in this small community, we'd love to have the opportunity to take a look at it. I want to welcome you guys all here tonight. We have a special guest who comes so highly recommended by so many of my investors, and she's like peanut butter. You just want to spread her around. And we're going to hear all about what Lisa Landry is into, what her specific area of focus is, and how you might be able to either learn from her or how she might be able to help you to become a more successful investor in multifamily. So what I do is I'm a little bit different than most of the mortgage lenders out there. And again, I'm a broker, so I can bring a lot of different types of loans to your transaction. But a lot of the mortgage brokers, they kind of sit on the sidelines and they wait for the teams to bring them the business. I'm a little different. I like to get in the middle of it and really help my new investors by bringing sponsors, by bringing insurance, by bringing tax consultants, and all of those are at your service here at Zoom at 8, and they can be basically put your team together real quickly. So we're here to help serve you. Again, as I mentioned, we've closed 7 deals, and we have a new partnership that's underway based on the relationships here at Zoom at 8. So Rocky and Candace and Malik and a couple of our other good friends are now starting to work together. So that's pretty exciting. And we are so excited. There's not a lot of creativity when it comes to putting deals together. You can be creative in the underwriting, and a lot of engineers get excited about that. But those of us that have a creative side, whether it's in creating color or fashion or creating opportunities to better a building, nobody does it better than our guest tonight. And so I'm super excited, as I say every Tuesday night, I'm super excited about our guest tonight, Lisa Landry. She is the CEO of Landry Designs. I met Lisa a while ago and visited with her, and I was super excited and really impressed with what she does in this space. And so why not have somebody so experienced and knowledgeable to really give you a sense of what is important from a creative side to make these multifamily properties even more exciting and profitable. So let me tell you a little bit about Lisa. She is partnered in $17 million plus dollars in assets. She is a multifamily investor herself. She's accredited. She is an award-winning interior design firm with a team of 21 employees that are working from an 18,000 square foot studio in Texas, adding value to properties across the country. She designs and decorated over 100 plus B and C properties, multifamily communities across the U.S. She is award-winning first, second, and third places in the international design contest judged by magazine editors. All right. She has experience working with many multifamily property owners to renovate and remodel leasing offices, model units, unit interiors, amenities, exterior paint, and also elevate their brands. She was voted the best interior designer by local residents 9 years in a row. My gosh, her things go on and on. She is a resident of Fort Worth, Texas. And what I love the most is that she is an adventure junkie. So I want to turn over my introduction to Lisa. Lisa, welcome to Zoom at 8. I'm so excited that you're here to visit with my community. We are making things happen, and we want to know more about you and how you can help us become more knowledgeable and what is happening in trends, colors, design, faucets. Tell us about everything that you're doing.
I'd love to. Thank you so much, Julianne, for having me. So can I go ahead and share my screen?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, let me go ahead and do that. I'm excited to be with everybody today, and we'll let this load. Go here, and I'll go over a little bit about our agenda, and then we'll get started. So let's go ahead and go to this next screen. Here's our agenda. So we're going to talk a little bit about Landry Designs first, and about me, and kind of how we can help if you ever need anything. And then we're going to look at some before and afters. We're going to talk about unit interiors, some tips and tricks that you can use, design trends, mini models, and then have a Q&A session at the end if we have time. So we're going to try to cover a lot of information. When I was starting out, which was about maybe 12 years ago now in multifamily, I just needed a lot of education. And so that's what I'm here to give, is any tool that I can add to you to add value to your properties or to assist with you bringing value to a team. That's what we're here for. So let's go ahead and get started. And Julianne mentioned a little bit about us. I'm known as the interior designer of multifamily investing, and we've built a large team of multifamily specialists doing projects across the country. She mentioned some of our awards, and we're very thankful for those. And we love getting what we call like a new baby. Every time somebody closes on a property and we get a call, we get so excited because there's just unlimited potential with what you can do with these properties. And we really specialize in B and C class properties. We can do A class properties as well, but B and C is really our sweet spot. So some of our services, we decorate leasing offices, model units, we help with exterior paint if needed, and then we also help with branding and sort of anything about image on the property that might need to be considered. This is our menu of services, our multifamily menu of services, and I'm happy to share this with anyone if they want to reach out to me afterwards. We always send this on to syndicators or partners whenever they're looking at starting a project. So there's lots of packages available and budget ranges for those packages, and all of our services are listed here. So how do we work? We sell the furnishings actually, and we actually offer free design services for everything that we sell. So we're selling the furniture for all of the model units, for example, or the leasing office. We sell rugs, lamps, pictures, mirrors, all the lighting, accessories, murals, desks, everything to kind of finish the space on the interior. And then for the things that we're not selling, which are maybe working with your contractor or giving input on amenities such as like bark parks or soccer fields or things like that, we're happy to help with those things. Branding, logos, signage input, landscaping input, the pergolas, things around the pool, all those sorts of elements we're happy to assist with giving consulting work advice on or input on, and we charge hourly for those. So we kind of offer two different areas, furnishings and then consulting work. What don't we do? We're not doing the construction. So we work with the property management company and with the contractor that the property has to make sure that everything gets taken care of throughout the process. We're helping choose the paint, but we're not doing the painting. We're selling the light fixtures, but we're not installing the electrical. We're not the one doing the actual remodel. We're just selling all the furnishings and choosing all the components. So that just gives you a little bit of a background about how we work. So let me show you some of our multifamily work, just so that you can see some before and afters and kind of tell how you can take these B and C class properties and really make the leasing office in particular look like an A class leasing office. So let's start with the leasing offices. So here's one that's in the DFW area of Texas. This is the before of the leasing offices. And this is what we most commonly see, is where it's very bland looking. Probably the owner that had it before just went and bought some furniture at a furniture store and put it in there. Or sometimes they bring their furniture from home that they're not using anymore and put in here. Just very, very bland, and making it look like a really dramatic lounge. That's what we do. We want this first impression space when people come in to be super dramatic, memorable when they're looking at other apartments. That 15 seconds of when they first walk in thinking, oh, this is very cool, I might want to live here. That's what we need to separate, your property from everybody else's property in this way. Here's another one. This one, there was some remodeling done. So they were taking out some walls, kind of changing the flooring a little bit. And then we sold all the furnishings for the space. So we picked the paint, we helped with the fireplace tile. And this is a good thing to look at, little things like this, where this was no tile around the fireplace. It was super bland. Adding this one little section of tile, which is not that expensive to do, really highlights it. It creates a vertical line to make that wall appear taller, because when you have these angled ceilings that get shorter like this makes it feel really short on this side. So if you can do a vertical line and pull that up, pull your eye up, that really helps. Plus the texture is interesting. It's a graphic detail. It's kind of shiny. It adds a different texture to the space. So that's an inexpensive thing that you can do in any leasing office. Also changing the color of the wall and having an accent wall. Darker walls push the wall away from you, which is the opposite of what you would think. Darker walls make spaces look larger because they push the wall out. Lighter colors come towards you. So I always tell girls, like when you wear white pants, you feel like you're fatter. When you wear black pants, you feel like you're skinnier. And that's because your eyes are drawn to white first. That's where your eye will always go first. So any lighter color comes towards you and darker colors go away from you. So we use that when we're looking at multifamily to try to make sure that we're enhancing the architecture that's there and to create, drama and contrast in spaces. The lighting is also extremely important. Overhead lighting, which is up here, casts shadows on your face and on everything that you do, makes people look old and tired and not so great. So we want to always add mid-level lighting, which is here with the floor lamps or table lamps, also the chandelier. That starts lighting the room properly and people just feel much better in those kind of spaces. So those are subtle things, but they change the way that people feel when they walk into a space. And all those things are important. Here's another one. This was a little bit of a remodel also. This was attached to a gym over here. It was like an open window. So we knew people would come out of the gym and sit in this lounge. And we wanted to make sure that all this furniture could be sat on with sweat. So we chose, pieces for that. So this is another good example of very modern design. That's really what the trends are going forward. We've had it for maybe 10 years now, and still going forward, we're seeing very modern. We are trending a little bit away from grays though, and going more into browns again. So I'll show you a couple pictures later that show that. But in this case, we wanted to add drama to the space. They talked about taking these beams down, and we ended up saying, no, let's just keep them and paint them silver, but we painted the ceiling dark so they just popped out against it. We painted these columns black to make that architecture pop out. So again, this is not a high-end property at all, but this leasing office looks like an A-class property, and that's what you want. It's not that expensive to do, and it makes a huge difference in the way the potential residents feel when they come in. It also makes a big difference in the way the current residents feel about renewing. And then the third thing, we call it kind of the trifecta, is that the on-site staff loves working in a space that looks this great. It makes it easy for them to rent the units. Okay, and then here's a few model units just to show you. This is a good example of a model unit that's on carpet. A lot of times we're using carpet on the second and the third floors for sound absorption. So how do you make that look good? How do you make the walls, interesting when they're just beige or gray or whatever? Well, we use a lot of color. So picking one color, which typically goes with the logo of the property, their theme color, is nice to use because these images are going to be on the website. So we're always thinking about, what does the website look like? Is it cohesive? Does the model unit, does the leasing office, the signage, display pieces all feel cohesive for the branding? That's very, very important. So a lot of the model units I see as I go into model units look very bland, but you want super high drama with a big hit of color. This is another example of a model unit. This was just the bedroom here. Again, adding some color to the space, decorating the patio for the model unit. If there's a little balcony or a little patio, that's also very important. we put these things out for the photography the day that we photographed it, which is what people see on the website. You wouldn't leave these things out in a model unit overnight, obviously, but the staff can put them out every day when they come in and turn on the lamps to get the model unit ready for the day. Here's another one. This one's more neutral with just soft hits of color. This is a C-class property. So in this case, they did not change the door fronts, the cabinet door fronts. They just wanted to paint and refinish the, laminate countertops. Here's another model unit with a little bit more color. Another patio. We want these to look like model homes. That's what you're going for, is for people when they walk in to feel like, oh, this is like a model home. That's how houses get sold, is by people walking into models. That's what we want with apartments as well. So we also do paint assistance. This is an example of a property, a C-class property, that they wanted to do some paint and they just needed some help with it. So what we recommended, and they didn't need to paint the whole thing, it was really in good condition, is two options. We did the renderings with this stripe running around, this gray stripe, and then the cedar plank on the balconies going the other direction. And then option 2 for them was not to do the stripe and just to paint some accent vertical lines and then just paint out the existing balcony fences. So, that was 2 different options, 2 different budget ranges for them. And then they can decide what they want to do. So we do renderings all the time. Also, we really like to be involved if they're changing the roof. Like in this case, they wanted to put a new roof on. I can't tell you how many times we've started a project and they say, oh yeah, we just got a new roof. And we're like, oh no, that's not the color we would have picked. So if we can get in at the beginning, even when the property is just, right under contract, when it's just under contract, PSA has just been signed, then we can start assisting and giving estimates, even when the LOI is accepted, actually giving ballpark ranges, and get involved early to make sure we're selecting the right colors for the roofs. Branding, we can also assist with, and this is really, really important. So many times I've started working with syndicators or property owners that have already done their logo, their name by the time they call us. The name is important, first of all, and we can give assistance with that, some recommendations there. But the logo is so important. What the color palette is, does it go with the brick if you're keeping the brick on the property? Lots of elements go into choosing this branding and image. So we really like to get in early again on that. This is an example of 4 different things that the advertising agency had sent over. And I really liked this one, this logo, but I didn't care for these colors with this particular property. So we chose this color, and then they came up with this, and here's how it ended up. So again, little things like that. People are deciding what they're going to come see, potential residents are online first, obviously. So we need that website to look amazing. We need these logos to look great. We need everything to feel cohesive. And this is one that we just finished. This is the property that I just purchased as a GP, and Old Capital helped us and Ramey King helped us. So we're very appreciative for all of that assistance. And this was the logo before. We decided to keep the name of the property. And this is part of when you're negotiating. We came down to best and final, and there were maybe like 17 people that had toured this property and were putting offers in. And the owner, the seller, had built this property in '86, and he'd had it all that time. He was very attached to the name. There's fountains around the property, so you have this nice water sound. And it came down to best and final, us and one other group. The other group was a big group, and our group sent a letter to the seller after the seller interview and said, we love what you've built. We love the branding that you've built. We plan to keep the name. We want to just continue on your legacy or whatever. And we got the deal. So that's a little small tip that could work. Now we're changing the logo and making it much more modern, but we were able to keep the name. It had good ratings on Google. So, it wasn't detrimental to us to keep the name. This is the website before, just so you can see how it looked. And here's the website after we've redesigned it. So all of these things come into play with how people feel about your brand and if they want to come look at the property. All right, so let's talk about unit interiors. These are just a few of the different vendors that you can get products from for multifamily. There are others out there. These are the ones kind of in our DFW area that we use. And so it's good to sort of know these names as you're working, if you're thinking about partnering, so that you're at least familiar with these names and you might know which one you might want to go to. The one that I think most people use is HD Supply, but they all offer similar things. HD Supply has a bigger inventory, a bigger option list. Oh, one
We
more
have
thing.
actually had Vima Decor here on Zoom at 8. So
Okay,
yeah.
good. Well, and I think they're great. They've come and, you know, spoken to us. We've toured their facility as well. And we always recommend any of these three when we're working with syndicators, but a lot of times they already have an account with one of them set up and they already have a rep. And so, you know, being able to pick things from that vendor is helpful. Okay, so here's just an example of a classic unit. You know, the cabinet doors haven't been changed. This is what we see all the time going in. Here's an example of an upgraded unit. So changing just the doors. These doors do not have hardware on them. So it always depends on your underwriting and how much do you have in the budget? Do you have enough to do hardware also? Did you put it in your pro forma to get your calculations to come out? Maybe you're going to test some with, some without, see how much extra rent you can get. So this is just an option of how it looks if you just paint, change the doors, but do not add hardware. And then refinishing the countertops. This is not granite. It sort of looks like granite, but you can tell it's not because this sink is sitting on the top. It's not an undermount sink. So this is just a laminate surface, and you can always continue to refinish those. If you're going with a really light cabinet color, going with more of a mid-tone like this looks pretty on the countertop. So we'll look at some different colors as we go through. Here's another example of an upgraded unit. You can also go really dark on the countertops if you're going light on the cabinets. And this one does have the hardware. So it sort of sets it apart, makes it look like a little more of a platinum unit. You might offer one at one price and another one at the other price. This one has backsplash. The other one did not. This one is actually granite, has the undermount sink. You know, they added the cool little shelves here. That's something that would separate you from other properties. People would remember that, like, ooh, that looks mid-century modern. So those are not expensive things to do, but they do set you apart from other properties. Here's another upgraded unit. Now this one has light cabinets with the hardware and really light countertops. So you can see how that changes the look. This gives it a little bit more of a traditional look, actually. You know, you see the doors, 6-panel doors versus just, you know, solid doors. So those are subtle little things that are good to look at when you're looking at properties, because these doors are not cheap to change out. And if they have the plain solid doors, you know, you can really elevate the look by changing to the 6-panel, but that would be good to put in your pro forma so that you can say, okay, well, maybe we'll have these platinum units that are, you know, $100 more a month or whatever. And they have these specific amenities, and just test it and see what you can get. We're working on one right now on our property where we're testing 5 units with adding pendant lights and also adding a micro hood, which, you know, is the microwave and vent hood combination. And there were no microwaves at all. Everybody has them sitting on their counters. And so we're testing that to see if we can get rent to make that worth it, which I think we will be able to. Okay, here's another one. I just wanted to show this because a lot of times we see these bar height bars. If you have the option, if you're changing something and you're doing anything or opening something, counter height is preferable. People prefer counter height over bar height now. So if you have the option, that's great to lower it if you're changing something. The other thing is if you can go out, and depends on where it is, you may not have room in this space, but if you can go out 12 inches here, that gives you so much more surface to actually sit there and eat than these tiny little, you know, 6-inch extensions. So just be aware of that. These were cabinets that were painted and the color is okay. We can make it work. So, you know, we are leaving it in this case. This was a kind of an upgraded unit. One thing I would mention though, is I don't ever select ceiling fans for dining areas because ceiling fans get dusty on the top and then all that stuff's coming down on your food. So I like ceiling fans in the bedroom and in the living room if possible, but I put a chandelier always in the dining room. Okay, so these were just some recommendations that we talked about, trying to modernize the space, do granite or quartz countertops, add some subway tile backsplash to this one, upgrade the fixtures, which would be the faucets. Like you can see this faucet here is not like a super cool faucet of any sort. Upgrade the hardware. If you didn't want just the plain hardware, you might do something a little more decorative. The flooring, I'm going to show you some pictures later, but we're going with not this color flooring anymore. And not even just gray flooring. We're going lighter. So I'll show you those. Stainless appliances are always great. And then add fans where possible, but typically to the family room and bedrooms only. Okay, if the acoustic can be removed, that's an expensive thing to do. But if the budget's there for it and you're trying to really elevate the tenant base and the tenant base can be elevated that much, then it sure does make a difference to remove the acoustic from the ceiling when you're going through these, major unit turns. So this is just an example. This is something that should have been caught, that this hardware is not straight. That should have never gotten by the on-site team, this is the model unit actually that they already had done. So also, like, they had some that were long galley kitchens like this, and then this one's L-shaped. And so on this one, we're talking about making these cabinets at the top be a light color, just to lighten everything up. So we could keep the lower and then go lighter on the top. This is just some inspiration for you to see, because this is the direction things are going. This is the color flooring that we're seeing now going forward. So what happens is, they always put things into homes and they put them into A-class properties, and then it starts filtering down to B and C class properties. So to be aware that we're not doing this sort of rustic country look anymore. We're going for this more palomino color, this blondish color that's lighter, moving forward. We are seeing dark cabinets, but with really light countertops. So like on this one, dark cabinets, these were new cabinets actually, but this is a really light countertop with the backsplash also. All stainless steel appliances in this case. Here's another one, some more inspiration. This is a really tiny little kitchen that you can see. White accents make a huge difference. They always make everything pop. So if you are doing a model, if you can include some white furniture, it really brightens everything up and makes it look crisp. This is a good example of having even just one pendant light here, can make a difference. Pendant lights across the bar or over the bar are very, they're a draw for potential residents. That separates you from other properties if you can add a pendant light or two.
Do you see that in C class, Lisa?
Yes, for sure. But this would be when you're testing, your platinum units. Maybe you have silver, gold, and platinum, and test a few. You can put it in any level. It's just there are always going to be people who will pay. Let's say for the pendant lights, you're going to charge them $25 more a month. There are always people who are going to pay to have something better than their neighbors have, or they just always want the better package. They can afford that $25 a month, or they can afford maybe $25 more for reserve parking. They just can't go up another $200 maybe to move to another property. So it's just an option. And if you show it in the model and they want it, you could add them to another unit, an existing unit, if there's not one available that already has them. And so when we're doing the unit interior packages for people, we try to make sure that we're selecting things that we can get over and over and over again. It's, not going to be discontinued and have to start all over. So these are some examples of flooring. This is what we've had, is this gray for so long now that everybody knows. And this is the color that we're going towards. So I've been looking for it lately, and it is a little bit more expensive. So I would recommend, if you want to go this route, on a property, maybe do it on B class properties instead of C class properties, and get your estimates ahead of time. Should you consider carpet? The pros is that it can be a little bit less expensive to lay the carpet, and the product itself and the installation is less. It's less noisy for second and third floor units. It's comfortable. You don't have to put rugs down. But the cons are that if there is any kind of smoke smell or pet smell or stains or whatever, those are hard to remove. Kid stains as well. Adult stains, people have allergies. And then you have the cleaning cost every time somebody moves out, or the replacement cost. So what we decided to do on our property was do the luxury vinyl plank or luxury vinyl tile, they call it both, everywhere except for the bedrooms. And we put the carpet in the bedrooms. And our thought process was that most of the bedroom is covered by furniture. So it would be the area that's the least, likely to get dirty. Maybe they're not eating in there and that kind of thing. If you put it in the living room, it's really hard to be able to reuse that after somebody moves out. So that's what we decided to do, is put it just in the bedrooms and then the luxury vinyl tile throughout everywhere else. When we started with our property, there was carpet in the living room and the bedroom, and then the floor looks really choppy. So if you get choppy, different kinds of floor in areas that you can see all together, it makes the space feel so much smaller. If you can get the same flooring throughout, and then you turn the corner maybe and go to a bedroom, it makes the space look bright and airy and modern and much bigger, actually. So here's an example of the color that we've had, kind of the gray, and then going to more of this palomino color. So color trends cycle back and forth between grays and browns. And y'all may remember that we had like old world many years ago and everything was tan and brown. And then it gradually started going into like blacks and grays, and then it just stayed gray for like 10 years. Well, now we're trending back. So we're going back towards more blondes and gray browns and taupes and that kind of thing. And we will eventually trend back to brown. So just giving you a heads up. And, most of the property owners are only going to keep the properties maybe 5 years. And so the trend could change again after that. But I do have some property owners that are buy and hold, and they keep for many, many years. And so they'll do remakes or redos about every 10 years.
What about the green shag carpeting? Is that coming back?
Well, we are seeing all kinds of color, lots of color coming back, like avocado and the pumpkin colors and all the colors that we had the appliances in, in the 70s are coming back. It just all keeps making circles back around. So neutral backgrounds, but for furnishings, yes, all those colors are coming back. Here's another inspiration image, and I wanted to show you this one because this is more of like an A-class property, but that's what you're always, trying to trend towards. So again, this lighter color flooring. If you wanted to do some gold fixtures, and let's say it's a B-class property and you're trying to take it to a B+ or an A-, you want to do gold fixtures throughout and gold hardware on the cabinets, man, that can really elevate the look. People love that. It just looks super high end. It costs a little bit more for those fixtures, but not a lot, but it just changes the look completely if you wanted to offer some different levels.
How long do you think gold is going to be in on those fixtures? You think that's going to stay for a while?
I do. We've had it for about, again, maybe 5 to 8 years already, and it is still going strong. We're seeing both. We're seeing, brushed nickel, we're seeing black, we're seeing gold, like a matte gold, kind of a matte gold finish. We're seeing copper. So they're all acceptable now. And it really just depends on the look that you're going for. With this more blonde toned floor, the gold looks really pretty. So it's kind of fresh and new. And these fixtures are not so expensive. I mean, this one probably is, but the ones that you can do for apartments are not so expensive that 5 years down the road, if you need to change it, just change it. So cabinets and hardware. This is just a good example of, again, dark cabinets with a really light backsplash, and then light cabinets with a really dark countertop and light backsplash. I wanted you to see these two backsplashes because we are doing a lot of this subway tile in white. That's the most common that you're seeing right now, and everybody loves it, and it's clean and it's modern and it's mid-century looking. But do you see how the difference in the color of the grout changes the way it feels? So we always suggest doing white grout and then just sealing it versus the gray or taupe or anything like that. When you do this, it makes it look a lot busier when you have the gray grout, and it makes it look more traditional. So if you're going for modern, then I would stay with the white route. Cabinets and hardware, we are still seeing these kind of shaker style cabinets in all different colors. What we're doing on our property is we're painting the lowers. Well, we're painting all of ours gray actually, but you can do the lowers in gray, the uppers in white. You can mix and match. If you're painting, you know, it's not a big deal to pick what color you want. And then different kinds of hardware. So you can see here, this is the gold or something curved maybe, because everybody, you know, does this regular one, or maybe do longer ones than all the standard shorter ones that are out there. Just something to set yourself apart. And then for countertops and backsplashes, these are just some trending, you know, colors. We're trying to either go, you know, granite, maybe with black, or stay really, really light. If you're doing granite, which is great, maybe again, that might be on your platinum package, then just go really, really light, not busy looking at all. If you're refinishing laminate that's there and just doing a refinish, just go as light as possible, the very lightest color that they have. A lot of times it's a whitish with kind of a little gray flecks in it or something, and that looks great. Again, here's some different subway tiles just to show you sort of some options. You can also do very ornate backsplashes. It's just those typically don't stay in stock. They change all the time. And so your property might end up with all different looking backsplashes if you don't pick something pretty simple. Here's that same picture we were looking at. Appliances, white, black, or stainless. And there's pros and cons to all of them. If you are staying with white, if you'll put some white cabinets, you know, leave some of the cabinets white, that sort of helps absorb that color and makes everything look light and fresh if you want to stay with what you already have. If you want to put black or you already have black, then integrating black somewhere in the rest of the kitchen, you know, either on the countertops or maybe some fixtures or something like that can help. And then if you want to do stainless steel, it looks the best. It's the nicest. It's the best upgrade. People love it. It is more prone to show, you know, scratches, fingerprints, dents than some of these other colors. So you just have to be aware of it and know that you may have to change them out more frequently, but you might want to integrate it on your higher package.
Just a real quick note on that. On the stainless steel packages, we're getting them for $100 over the black or white. So
Yes.
they are really worth investing in the stainless just for premium packages.
It's not much more for
Mhm.
sure. It's just the maintenance of them is a little bit more.
Yep.
But they look so great. The other thing is you can mix. So let's say you already have, you know, a black oven or black dishwasher or something. You can still put a stainless steel refrigerator in there, particularly on B and C class properties. Everything doesn't have to match exactly because all of these have so many components to them. Like, you know, you could even leave something black with this one because this has black on it. This has stainless. This has stainless. This has there. You can mix them. You don't want to mix white and black or white really with stainless, but the black and stainless can be mixed without having to replace every single thing. Okay, so here's an example. If you have white appliances, do you see how keeping these uppers white and the backsplash white, kind of the lowers, this sort of dove gray, that makes it blend. That white oven, your range, just sort of goes away. So it looks fine. It can definitely work.
So we're okay with the brown kind of flooring with the gray.
Yes, this looks great together,
Okay.
actually. This color has gray undertones in it. It's kind of a taupey color. So it could go real yellow, like a yellow blonde, or it can go more this kind of gray blonde. And this definitely goes together great.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty. Here's another one. So in this case, there was an island and they painted the island black. They added the black hardware, which again separates it from other properties. They have all black appliances. So that makes that all go together. Our rule of thumb is if you use something, try to use it in 3 places. So if you're using black, try to have that in, like 3 different places. They've added the pendant lights over the bar, which is always nice. Here's just some stainless steel, just so you can kind of see how the stainless steel looks with everything. with the dark cabinets or with the white cabinets. It goes either way. Talking about plumbing, these three are pretty popular, just some kind of gooseneck faucet. It is nice to have the sprayer built in so you don't have something separate that's going to break and them call you and that kind of thing. Maintenance is a huge issue. So the fewer maintenance calls you have, obviously, the better. And then this is sort of the most popular faucet just because it's one of the least expensive, but there are other ones available if you wanted to integrate a nicer plumbing package on your upgrade package. Lighting. This is a good example of what I would do for a dining area. One of the rules to remember with lighting, with chandeliers in particular, is we don't want the bulbs coming down, because if you sit at the table, those bulbs are right in your face. You don't want to be able to see those bulbs coming down. You always want the bulbs going up. So this can change the look of a dining room completely. This is not an expensive fixture, but when you walk into an apartment that has a nice little chandelier like this in the dining room, people love that. You can also do these type pieces, like, maybe you don't have room to do a chandelier in the dining room. Maybe the ceiling is too short. You could do something like this in the dining room. You could do something like this in the hallway. This is the fan style that I typically like for the bedrooms or the living room. You'll find that the 3-blade is a lot less expensive than the 5-blade, and it looks super modern. It still moves air. So you always want to check too about how much of a ceiling hugger it is or how far down it comes, depending on the ceiling height. This would be fine with an 8-foot ceiling, but it just depends. Sometimes there are areas in an apartment that come even lower than an 8-foot ceiling. So I definitely wouldn't use something like that in that case. This is an example of one of the fluorescents or LED. It's really an LED fixture for the kitchen. This is one for a bathroom that you can do a bar style. We're only choosing LED lighting now for every single multifamily project that we do. A, it's, saves so much on utilities, on electricity, but B, they just last forever. The lights last forever, so you don't have to go in on those maintenance calls. When we did our due diligence walkthrough, when we were walking all the units, we went into every single unit, and oh my gosh, there were so many light bulbs out. Like in the bathroom, there might be just like one bulb left on a vanity light, or 3 out in the kitchen or whatever. And people can call and have those replaced for free. I mean, they can just call and the maintenance will come and do them, but people just don't. So that changes the way you live. If you're living in the dark all the time and it looks terrible, that's, again, a visual thing, but also an emotional thing and a mood thing. These are all also other LED light options. So you could do pendant lights like this over the bar, or this, or this, or this. These are a couple of vanity light options. Do you want the bulbs to show? Do you not? The clear looks super cool, but it's more maintenance because it gets dirty and dusty faster. The white doesn't give quite as much light, but it does, look nice all the time. So those are all little things to be aware of. This is an example of where they could have added pendant lights here or to this layout here. And it depends on how long this bar is, how far you come in. Standard is typically about 12 inches where you come in, so that it's not in the way. They can leave this center section open for entertaining or passing, food back and forth without one being right in the middle. This is their model unit now before we started working on it. This counter is bar height, and these bar stools are counter height. So we see that all the time where they're not the right size. They're not the right height for the unit itself. You need to be real careful about that. Bathrooms, here's just some trends. This is one that somebody else did. You can see there's like a big crack on the drawer right here. They just painted the cabinets and, did some cool stuff. But this is a good example of, you can take the floor that they did here and put it up on the wall in the bathroom. It's not that big of a deal to do. You can have the mirror framed. It can be white. It can be black. You could add some sconces instead of regular lighting. There are just some things that you could play with. We do always like this curved bar on the shower curtain because it gives you so much more space in the shower, and it's really not much more expensive at all. Those are subtle things that the on-site manager, when they're walking or the leasing agent, when they're walking the model, can point out that they have different from other properties. I don't recommend this style of toilet paper holder because A, the toilet paper always falls off. But B, this always gets crooked. People lean on this and then the whole thing shifts and then the toilet paper always falls off. So we don't recommend these for commercial applications at all. Just stay with the regular style. A little bit more inspiration here. Again, kind of dark cabinets, white countertops, light backsplash, pendant lights like we talked about. Here's a more busy backsplash, more decorative backsplash, which looks great, but can be very hard to get later on. You see all these counter height islands, that are pretty common. This is a little section I wanted to talk about called mini models. And I'm not sure if you know what that is or if y'all heard of that before, but it's where instead of maybe having a model unit, because maybe your property is always fully occupied, you want to have a mini model. And so what that is any unit that is vacant, that happens to be vacant, let's say you just have one or two, instead of having a dedicated model unit, you just bring in a few accessories and put the accessories out. There's no furnishings or furniture in the space and the whole unit, but these few accessories make it look like it's sort of lived in. So it's what's called a mini model, and it's very inexpensive to do. And it's a great solution if you don't want to have a dedicated model and you want to lease that unit out. That's what we did for our property. Our property is only 108 units and it's always like 98% occupied. So we decided to stage our model unit. We're having it photographed. We're going to destage it. We're going to put those pictures on the website. And then we're not going to have a model unit. We're leasing that unit out. So we get that extra income, boost the NOI, boost the property value, and then we can do these mini models for any that happen to be vacant. Here's another one with just a few accessories. Again, just subtle accessories throughout. Here's a bathroom where, you could have done a shower curtain also, but just a few little accessories in the space. And you can just keep moving them when somebody rents it, move it to the next one, move it to the next one. Okay, so that's it. Any questions or your favorite tip you wanted to share? And you can tell us, Julianne, how much time we have.
We have about 5 minutes, but I thought that was amazing. So many helpful hints. Does anybody have any questions? So many neat ideas.
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you, Julie.
Sure.
It's so I know this has been very educational, so thank you for making it so educational. That's awesome. What's like a roughly cost? I think it varies a lot, but to do a class A, class B, and just from a designing and standpoint, and with the furnitures and stuff like that.
Yeah, it depends on, that's a great question. It depends on the size of the leasing office and how many rooms are in the leasing office, or the size of the model unit and how many bedrooms are in the model unit. And so that multifamily menu of services that I have, I'm happy to share, with you afterwards. That has, like, if you have a leasing office that only has, let's say, one on-site person, or maybe you have 2 to 3 on-site people, or maybe you have 4 to 5 on-site people. It depends on how big the property is. And do you have a fitness center? Do you have a business center? How many bathrooms are there? All of that comes into play for the budget. For a real small office, like if it's just a one on-site person, like the on-site manager, and maybe you have a maintenance person or something, and let's say it's just one big room and it's got one bathroom or something like that, that typically would run anywhere from maybe $10,000 to be completely furnished to $15,000, something like that. And that's all the art, all the lighting, all the furniture, desks, chairs, maybe add a little business center, all those kind of things mixed in. That just might give you a little bit of an idea.
Lisa, would you be so kind to send over that list, and I'll send it over every Friday. They get a copy of this and they can get that
Sure.
paper from you as well.
Okay.
That'd be great. Thank you.
PDF. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Who else has any questions?
I have a quick question. First of all, I just want, that was amazing. Thank you so much. It was
Yeah.
just so wonderful to see that. The number of units do you have like a minimum number of units that you work with in a particular property, or how does that work?
We really do not. It depends on how big the project is itself, because we're doing properties like in Atlanta and Memphis and, kind of all over actually. So it just has to be a big enough project for us to go. It's usually, if it's a leasing office, even if it's a small leasing office, that's enough for us to go. They might need help with exterior paint. They might need a model unit. They might need us to look at the laundry center, landscaping, branding, whatever. So what we always say is, if you get a property under contract or you're getting real close, we're happy to jump on a Zoom call and talk about the property, look at the website, look at any pictures that you have, talk about how we might could help, what budget range you might be in, and then just go from there, because you just never know. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, we've done some very small properties and we've done some very large properties.
Lisa, that is so helpful to understand. When do we engage you? At what point do we start getting, the conversations going? Is it during the LOI stage so that we can put that into the budget? What are your thoughts on that?
I would say that if you get a property underwritten that you think, you want to put an LOI on, that's a great time to reach out to us, because we can at least say, okay, well, this budget range would be what I would plug in, to your underwriting. When you're checking your insurance and your taxes and your cost segregation study and all those kind of things, we just are another team player that is there to help however we can. So we can at least give you a ballpark. We have one property or one syndicator. They do many, many properties across the country. And when they first started contacting us, they had a property that they had already got closed. I mean, it had already closed, and they had budgeted a specific amount for this leasing office. And when they told us the amount, we were like, well, that's not nearly enough. So they were like, well, what could you do for this? Please help us. And then the next time we'll put more in our budget, so we did as much as we could for that. And then from then on, they knew what budget range to put in for what size property based on that menu. And now they put that in every time, and we do all their properties, across the country. So it does help to at least have that guideline when you're doing your underwriting.
Fantastic. Lisa, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that? Did you have that in your slide deck, or can you just let us know what that looks like?
Sure. And I should have put that on the very last slide. Sorry. Let me see if it was on here.
People can take a picture of it. Might be helpful too. Yep.
I don't know if I put it even on here. Let me look real quick. No, it's not on here. So our website is landrydesigns.com with an S on it, landrydesigns.com. And then our email, the best email is info@landrydesigns.com, because that goes straight to our team that can get you set up with a multifamily specialist. That's the best way to get something done quickly. So info@landrydesigns.com. And you can go on our website and look at all kinds of pictures, and we have a multifamily tab. We do residential and commercial properties also, but there's a whole multifamily section.
Oh, you are so talented. And I got to tell you, this was an amazing presentation.
Thank you.
Your ideas, your talent, your trends. Does anybody have one final question that might be helpful for others?
Any trend that you didn't know about? Anything that was surprising?
The blue cabinets.
Oh, the gray. Were they gray or blue?
The blue.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised that the gold has been out as long as it has. I'm in San Diego. We never see gold. And I've been to Texas quite a few times. I see gold a lot. I just was curious if it was going to stay.
Yeah. We really thought it was going to leave like 2 or 3 years ago, and then it just came back with a vengeance. So I would say brushed nickel is still the most popular, and then gold, and then black.
And what about the chrome color, the shiny chrome?
Chrome is good too. Anything that silver family people love. It's just that Chrome shows every little fingerprint. So again, it's going to be scratch more. I wouldn't use it really for multifamily. I'd use brush nickel. When you're doing residential and people take care of things, it's different than having a rental property.
No, that's great. Well, Missy says that she's got some great ideas for her own house. So very good. I'm glad we could help you with that. Well, Lisa, thank you. Oh, Rocky, what do we got? You got a question?
Yeah, I just have one more quick question. As
Sure.
far as lots of styles go in and out through time, but are there any timeless things that like if you put in a property, it's really never going to go out of style and it's not going to be like, oh, we need to update that kind of thing?
Right. It's a great thought, but no, it's not the case. Things change so quickly. I mean, these manufacturers, they're going to, and even designers for fashion, they're going to always be changing to make you buy new things. So there are going to be trends. People like to be trendy. And again, if you're going to keep the property long term, then you're going to need to do an update about every 10 years. But most people don't hold these properties that long. So you want to look the most trendy that you possibly can on your website to get that draw for everybody to come want to live at your property.
I love that you do all of the design for their logos and their website. That is terrific. It really is a full service community that you're working with. So thank you so much, Lisa. On behalf of all of our audience here, you have created so much help for us and so much value. So I want to thank you for that.